Welcome to PEAC, Train Like a Girl, a podcast by girls in sport, for girls and coaches in sport. We're here to amplify your voice. It deserves to be heard. At PEAC, we are a safe place for girls to hang out, learn, grow, and build community. We empower girls in sport and coaches with knowledge, resources, and support we think is necessary in today's athletic environments to thrive. Join us for bold conversations about experiences of girls in sport. Our discussions will make you laugh, cry, cheer, get frustrated, and hopefully rethink the future of girls in sport for generations to come. Whether you're walking, commuting, or cleaning your bedroom, take us with you. Follow us. It helps more than you can imagine. Check out our website and make sure you share with a female athlete or coach you love. Now, before we get started, I do want to fill you in on a couple things. I was just sharing with Megan, who is our awesome intern who runs the podcast, that we are getting more and more downloads every single week. And that's because of all of you sharing the podcast with friends and coaches and support systems. We can't tell you how much we appreciate it. We are not powered by money here. We are powered by you, and we are powered by social collateral. So we appreciate everything you're doing. We hope the conversations continue to excite you, to challenge you, and continue to help you rethink what it's like to be a girl or a coach in sport today. So thank you for all of that. I can't wait for you to meet our next guest. We were just chatting with her a little behind the scenes, and Becky took a leap of faith here. She actually doesn't know me and she doesn't know Megan. We met indirectly through a client of mine who happens to play on her soccer team at college. So I'm also really excited to get to know a little bit more about Becky. Becky, are you ready to get warmed up with us?
I'm so ready.
Awesome. All right. Cat or dog?
Dog.
Nice. Vanilla or chocolate?
Chocolate.
Beach or mountain?
Beach all the way.
I kind of figured you'd say that. So only because I know Aaron, so I figured that's what you were going to say.
Yeah.
Winter or summer?
Summer, of course.
I know. That was going to be obvious.
Yeah.
Taylor Swift or the Beatles?
Wow. I guess Taylor Swift.
Nice. Summer or winter Olympics?
Summer Olympics.
All right. That one can be tricky for people, but you were pretty confident.
Yes.
I love that.
Second though. I did think about it for 2 seconds.
Exactly. They're both amazing, right? Like,
yes, I agree.
Yeah, when you see all these incredible athletes, which is what we're here to talk about, it is so inspiring. So we'd love to get started just by hearing a little bit about your story in sport. Where did you start playing sports? Were you in a variety of sports? So just start us there.
Okay, awesome. So sports has definitely been part of my life since I can remember. Sports has been it was in my parents' blood, so it's always been part of my life. I am from Mexico. I grew up in Mexico most of my life. Where I started soccer was my main sport for many, many years. And then it kind of got a little bit too much in my life. So I decided to quit for a while actually. And I did gymnastics for a big part of my life. And I found huge passion for gymnastics for many years. But then I sadly had to quit the sport because of COVID. And then after COVID was when it was really that moment in my life where I started to try to look into the future and see where I wanted to go. I'm a dual citizen from Mexico and the US, so the door to come to the States was always open. It was just more of a seeing if I wanted to make that step, but I ended up following in my big sister's footsteps. My big sister's everything to me. She's like my inspiration. She's actually the big reason I ended up where I am now here at Marian University. So I decided to move to Tampa, Florida for my junior year of high school, where I joined club soccer and high school soccer. And I also did track as a little side hobby, but it all ended up aligning when I came to college, and now I do both sports for Marian University.
That is amazing. I want to circle back here, and if you don't mind, kind of fill us in. When you talked about soccer got to be too much, can you explain what that looked like? What do you mean by too much?
Well, it was like the family sport, so it was like eat, sleep, soccer, repeat.
Yeah.
And I think it came to a moment where like I felt like I lost that hunger for it and that passion for it. And it became more like a must do,
Mm-hmm.
which I think a lot of athletes have been in a point in their life where that's happened. And I decided to take a break from it. And I've definitely learned to love the sport again, not just because like I've improved, but just also because of my teammates and just like the the culture that I've built now, which has definitely made me like love the sport again.
Yeah, I think and we talk a lot about that. We've got several acronyms at PEAC, and one is REST, which is restore, enrichment, sleep, and then technology. So enrichment is kind of what we talk about, where we don't want athletes to over identify that the sport is them, that sport is actually something they do, and that they need to have a life outside of sport, something that
So true.
brings them joy. And so it sounds to me like you were finding all of your identity in sport and didn't have a lot of outside, whether it was passions or validations. Is that kind of what was going on?
Yes, it definitely like in terms of soccer, since it was like all on my family, I guess it also became really competitive in the family. I mean,
Yeah,
competition is really normal in sports, but
sure.
I guess you could say that I was always like second to my older sister.
Yeah.
So it did become like there was a moment where I was like, yeah, this is not for me anymore, but God has his way of doing his things, and that's where I am now. So, and I'm extremely happy. So, yeah.
Yeah. And I love that. And I think part of it, Becky, is maturity, right? So it's
Yeah.
interesting that maybe, what happens at a young age is that we do put too much pressure, and maybe the pressure is coming from you. So I'm not saying it was coming from an outside source. And maybe just at that time it was too much, because it certainly sounds now, while at Marian, that you have found a balance or, outside interest outside of soccer. Is that true?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, I love that. So let's talk a little bit about the recruiting process. We get a lot of conversations about that. I do work in high school athletics in both cross country and track and field. And this is always such a hard time of year. Those acceptance
Yeah.
letters are coming in from colleges, and kids are either thrilled or they're brokenhearted. So I know both you and Megan are certainly aware of this, but what are some tips that you can give to high school athletes throughout the recruiting process?
So, personally, in my recruiting process, I was actually in that point where I was like, do I want to continue my sport in a collegiate level? Because obviously, going like collegiate, it requires a lot of more discipline and just effort and time. And I was just debating if that's what I wanted to do because I had already moved by myself to Florida. So I
Yeah,
like moved away from my family for a long time, and then my family moved to Florida and I was back again with them, and I was deciding either like do I want to leave my family again or should I just stay at home? And I know that that goes through a lot of people's mind when deciding like where to commit to college or just not necessarily like an athlete.
sure.
And I'm definitely so grateful to have decided to come to Indiana and move, but it's definitely a trust process, I feel, in the
Mm,
recruiting. It's trusting that personally I have a lot of weight in my faith and in the spirituality aspect. So it's just trusting in God's plan that everything in my life is going to get aligned for a reason. And I
mm,
definitely, right now, I can see like how God has worked before. Like there's a Bible verse and it's like, I think it's Romans 8:18. It's like, you may not see what I have planned for you right now, but you will see in the future.
mm. Yeah, I love that. I love that and that when we're talking about enrichment, something outside of sport and school, spirituality or religion is part, whether you're knitting or, practicing spirituality, that's all part of it,
Yes.
right? Is to find identity outside of, performance, both in the classroom and on the field. So you can hear the excitement and passion there. And I think that that's something that is so important and we cannot overlook. So thank you so much for being vulnerable enough to share, your experience with God with us. So thank you for that.
Sure.
When you're talking about, making the decision, because it is more effort in college, what was the tipping point there? What was the part that made you say, you know what, I can do this for another 4 years? Was there an aha moment, or did it go back to your faith?
It was like a lot like pros and cons when it came to deciding to actually do this sport in college. More than anything, I would say for me, it was the big scholarship opportunity that Marion was
Yeah.
offering me,
Yeah.
which I definitely think it was a great decision that I made. Like, yes, it's a lot of effort and it's a lot of discipline, but it's definitely made me grow so much stronger and like in so many aspects in my way. Because sport does like give you so much than just like being fit and like
Yeah.
being having good performance. So definitely like the scholarship they offered me had a lot to do with me deciding to end up coming to Marion.
I love that. I love that you talk about that financial piece, because college
Yeah,
is a financial commitment. And so some
definitely.
of the burden with paying back some of those student loans goes away when you're a scholarship athlete.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, I love that. Hey, Megan, before I kind of move out of this arena, do you have anything else that you want to add or ask or talk about here?
I really, really love, Becky, what you said about the trust piece. And that I feel like goes a long way in so many different aspects. But if
Mm.
I were to add one thing just about the recruiting process, besides trust, because that was one of my biggest factors as well, I think that right now with society, everything is, about that instant gratification. So just picturing yourself for at a university or establishment for all 4 years, and not just what it would be like right away, but
Mm.
really down the line, and making sure you're understanding all of the factors and that you're going to be surrounded by people who are good for you and that you really, really do trust. So I loved that you mentioned that, and I also strongly agree.
Thank you. Yes.
I like that. I like that you talked about that instant gratification. I think that as as a soccer player and as a swimmer, you your sports don't typically deal with the transfer portal maybe as
Mhm.
much as basketball and football, but it certainly exists. And so the idea that you're making a commitment to somebody and somebody is making a commitment to you, and you're right, it's not instant gratification. You're buying in, and you're buying in for long term. So I appreciate that you said that. Becky, did you get that sense that you were making a commitment to Mary and they were also making a commitment to you?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, I love that. So tell us, Becky, what has it been like adjusting to college? So not only to the travel schedule and the training schedules, but also the school load and, obviously moving where you didn't have a network of friends and you're making new friends. So talk us through about that.
So for me, I think I've had smooth sailing overall. I've been blessed, and my sister also goes to Marion, so she's been here to guide me through ways. But it definitely has its ups and downs moment. Like just homesick is always something that comes through my mind. But in like schedule and balancing like sports, I think Marion has done a good job because it's mainly athletes to where we prioritize schooling over sports.
Mm,
But overall I think it's been really well because say like we have morning practices, really more early morning practices than just school, and then lift, and then the night is homework and sleep.
yeah. And does your sister play soccer at this, or
Yes.
she does? I didn't
Yes.
realize that you guys are both on the same team.
Yes, it's awesome. It's competitive, of course, but it's awesome. Yes, we're on the same team.
That is amazing. I did not quite pick up on that. So that is definitely super fun. Do your parents get to come to some of the games?
Unfortunately, no, they've been able to stream games,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's still a flight. So unfortunately they haven't, but I'm sure they will sometime.
Yeah, yeah. It's definitely hard, but the streaming aspect of it is awesome. I have a couple kids who coach at the collegiate level, and actually one now also coaches, or now instead of coaching in college, he coaches professionally. And the idea or the ability to be able to stream their games is so awesome because
Yeah.
you really do get to see it, which is so cool.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm going to go back and talk a little bit about the homesick piece because I think that is a piece that we don't talk enough about, not just to, college athletes, but to freshmen in college in general. The preparation, even if they're leaving a situation where they know they're ready to leave from, or maybe they don't have the best home situation. I mean, there's a million different, scenarios out there. I've never talked to a kid who hasn't said, yeah, there is this homesickness. You miss the familiarity of, whatever that is, a friend group or, your social circle or things that you do at home. How did you get over some of that?
So I think I was able to experience a little bit of homesickness before I got to college when I lived a year. I lived with a host family in Florida for a year.
Yeah.
And it was definitely hard just because I have 3 siblings. So the my family culture is very together and we just like always did stuff together. So definitely just moving by myself and just learning how to be on my own was definitely its challenges. But I feel like when you get taken out of your comfort zone is really when you grow the most, even though it's like really hard. And there's ways to just adjust to it. So like I would, let's say every single night, and I still do, I call my parents at 9 p.m. every night. And even if it's just this, like a quick little phone call,
Yeah.
we update each other and always keeping that communication. Like I also still have some of my closest friends from Mexico that are my like childhood best friends. We still communicate. It might not be every day, but I know that I can still count on them and everything. Like our friendship is still like intact. So it's definitely, I feel like beating homesickness it's very internal because there are just like a lot of feelings involved. And I definitely think like making sure you find something where you are now. Like right now, my friend group is my cure. Like definitely they're my safe place.
Right. I love that.
Yeah. So, and my sister, of course, she's also my safe place. So I feel like definitely if I had to like advise anyone if you're like feeling homesick, definitely like communication and just like find yourself like a safe place where you know that you can always count on and go and just like feel at ease.
Yeah, I think that's right. Megan, do you have any tips there for students leaving for freshman year as far as homesickness goes? Do you have any tips there?
It's so funny because I still am the same exact way, Becky. My freshman and my sophomore year, I was away from home at the University of Kentucky, which is
Yeah.
pretty far from where I'm originally from. So I was also on the phone with my parents every night.
Yeah.
But I really agree. Communication, just sticking to some familiar habits that you know that can put you at ease and can just settle your mind if you're getting anxious or overwhelmed, because it totally is a brand new world and you're being thrown so many things at once. So just small little habits that you can keep just for yourself or just with a small group of friends, I think is huge.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, I think those are all really good points. Becky, I want to talk a little bit about your experience specifically as a high performing college athlete. Marion had an awesome, I was able to watch many of your games. I also was able to stream them. You guys had an incredible season. It went on, for quite a long time, which was great. You went, pretty deep you went pretty far in the playoffs, right?
Yes, we made it to nationals.
That's what
Yeah, the first round of nationals, yes.
Yeah, which is amazing. So the season's long. Obviously, the workouts are more intense than what you were used to in high school. So talk to us a little bit about how you were able to stay injury free, keep your energy up, those type of things.
Well, personally, I think it was a lot of mentality. Sometimes it gets really hard, and sometimes you just have to, like, it's just like a mental game, have to keep going. Personally, for me, in with Marion, we had an amazing season. It was so awesome to be able to be part of the travel team for nationals and just experience all that firsthand, even though I wasn't involved in field time at nationals.
Right.
But it was still like our team culture is so awesome where like we're all playing and we're all versing the same team and we're all fighting for a title. So when it came to like practices and stuff like that, I feel that more than anything, it's the girls that uplift you. Like sometimes there's good days and there's bad days, but every day is another day to like be better. So definitely the girls on the team made it so awesome. Like upperclassmen are just like I'm so blessed. My freshman class is we're all so close. So it's been awesome to be able to share moments and practices and everything with them. So definitely they've been a big part, at least personally, in being able to wake up 5:30 a.m. for practices in the cold weather. Yeah.
And stay motivated. Yes, soccer in the Midwest, even though I know Indiana's on Eastern time, it's still considered a Midwest school to me. I mean, a Midwest state to me. It's no joke. I mean, these Southern schools are like, in November, they're playing in, 65 degrees and you're up there in a parka in snow.
Yes. And personally, I think you figured that I'm not a cold weather girly. So it's definitely been challenging and at times a little painful, but definitely gone through it.
Absolutely. I'm joking because I know getting up and going to a pool at 5:30 isn't that great, but I always tell people who are in gyms, I'm like, you have no idea what us outdoor sports have to go through. Oh my gosh, it's so funny. What about nutrition and sleep, Becky? Did that change much for you in college, or do you feel like you were able to kind of continue with a lot of the habits you had developed in high school?
So definitely, well, like college, you're more independent. You get to, your parents are there to tell you to leave your phone or to like, did you finish homework and stuff like that. So it definitely, during soccer season, I have to say my sleep schedule was awesome. Like I was already in bed by 10:30, making sure I got my hours of sleep. Definitely nutrition wise, it's always a little hard because sometimes cat food, I'm not sure if it's the same way in every college, but cat food isn't really what you want.
Yeah, I think it's the same everywhere.
Yeah. So that is definitely challenging, but obviously making sure to like fuel your body the right way is always really important.
Yeah. What were some tips there? Because that's an adjustment in itself, right? Freshman year cafeteria, even though there's variety, right? It doesn't taste quite the same as what we're used to. But you do need to fuel. So what were some of your tips there?
Definitely. Oh, I always try to make sure like water intake, like am I drinking enough water, food, like I'm not very like well informed on like nutrition and stuff like that, but I like just try to make sure that I like balance my meal as good as I can. So like making sure I have a salad, some protein, making sure that like before practice at least have like a little snack in the mornings so I'm not like doing a lot of exercise on an empty stomach.
It seems like you know nutrition pretty well, Becky. You're hitting all the good spots.
Thanks. But yeah, definitely I feel like it's a lot. It's all on your own, so it's up to you to really create the good habits to stay healthy.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Now, I love that this has been such a positive conversation, and I so appreciate that. And I'll recap all this and put it in the show notes, but everything you talked about from the culture of the program to your recruiting process, sleep and nutrition and, your faith, all that stuff was so amazing, incredible to look at. Is there anything you think that, as far as being a girl in sport, is there anything you think either Marion or the recruiting process or high schools could be doing better?
Let me see. That's a great question though. I mean, personally, my recruiting process was a little out of the ordinary because I did not visit Marion at all.
Wow.
I came in blindly. It was all trust actually. I never visited Marion. I met both coaches, my soccer coach and my track coach via Zoom. And the whole conversation it was definitely out of the ordinary, my recruiting process. So I mean, I think I'm still blessed where I'm so happy, have no regrets of coming to Marion.
Right.
But I've actually been able to, just the other week, I actually was helping out a recruit that was coming to Marion, and it was actually Erin that took her out for lunch. And then I met Erin and we did media pictures and all that awesome stuff. So I think more than anything, what I loved was to be able to tell the recruit of what it really is like. Yes, the good aspects, but there's also there's downsides to everything, and those going to be hard moments. So more than anything, it was that conversation that I had with the recruit when, of course, she was shy, but I consider myself a pretty bubbly person. So I was able to just tell her what to expect more than anything, coming into college.
You were keeping it real. You weren't painting it all rosy. I mean, you were keeping it real. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that is something I've heard before, is that, colleges oversell their programs.
Yeah.
It's not that the programs aren't great, but to not recognize that there aren't going to be moments that are hard, or you feel stuck, or you feel underserved or undervalued, I think is being naive. So I love that it feels like you guys are doing all of that you're keeping it real. And that is certainly beneficial, because it goes back to what Megan was talking about, is it allows an athlete to see the college for what it is, and it allows them to, trust the process and stay in there for the long haul. Because if you're telling them nothing but the upside and they get there and they're disillusioned, that's when we get people who are unsatisfied and want to leave. So I think it's cool that you're doing that. We are going to start to get cooled down, but before we do that, Megan, do you have anything you want to add or any questions?
I don't have any questions for you, Becky, but I love what you said about the recruiting, finding whatever side that you're on. If you're hosting a younger girl as a recruit, or you are the recruit, just finding someone on the team that you can connect with and just get some one-on-one time, I think is so important. And just having those real conversations, I think is the best thing that someone can do.
Yes, definitely.
I love that. All right, Becky, we are going to get cooled down. So,
awesome.
What food do you wish was portable enough to eat on a bus after competition?
Ooh, I'm going to say tacos, even though I could, but it's messy. So
I love that. Megan picked ice cream sundae. I still remember her. But I love tacos. You're right. They can be messy. So it'd be better if it was more portable. All right. One more question. If talent were not an issue, what sport would you love to excel in?
I wish I could go back to gymnastics. I love that sport.
I was wondering if you were going to say that. What was it like for you watching the Olympics and the gymnastics? Was that exciting for you?
Yes, it's awesome. It's just breathtaking sometimes to just see these girls do incredible stuff with their bodies, and it's just incredible.
Yeah, and I think people don't really realize
the
complexity and the difficulty of what they're doing.
Definitely underrated, yes.
Yeah, I think that's exactly, because they make it look so effortless.
Right.
Okay, well, then I'm going to ask you one more. I said we were done, but I want to ask you one more question. Who's your favorite female athlete right now?
Oh, wow. Ooh. I don't have one, but if I will, I'll say my sister because she's been awesome with her sport. She's coming back. She tore her ACL last season, and she's coming back so strong. I can't. I have no words. She's really my inspiration, definitely.
We are definitely closing shop on that one. So, thanks everybody for tuning in. We can't tell you how much we appreciate it. Please keep sharing our episodes with friends and with coaches and caretakers. It means more to us than you can possibly imagine. Also, make sure you take a minute